Pretty today.
Oh, thank you. This dress, I'm just going to talk about it and then go back and send the link. It makes me think about Audrey Hepburn. Like, I feel like
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I know it's a V-neck, but I feel like there must be a term for this part. I started getting cold though, so that's why I've got all my scarves. But thank you so much. Um, when I was a kid and I would watch the Audrey Hepburn movies, I just always thought she was so iconic and pretty. Okay, how do I pin myself? All right, I'll remember that in a minute. Too many things in my brain. So, oh, good. I was just thinking about you the other day, Mickey. I don't know if she can hear me yet. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. We there's someone I just talked to and I told her I would send her the link, and so that's what I'm doing right now. And as soon as I stop doing that, I will be fully focused on all of you. You may want to have some water and something to write with if you like to write. I always send out this replay and the recording too. Okay. Oh, good. She's here. Okay, good. I think it was the same link. Oh, well, now she's got two links. So, all right. And I'm going to pin myself. I always like us to start with, okay, speaker. I forget how to pin myself. If anybody who's here remembers how to do that. Wait, this is it? Spotlight. Pin. Mickey, I don't know if you heard. I was thinking of you the other day and going to reach out and ask how you were doing. So I'm so glad to see you here.
Thank you. I've been thinking about you as well. I've responded earlier, but didn't realize I had to allow for the thing to access my microphone. But yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Awesome. And so for anyone, I always try to remember to say this on personal sessions, but I almost never do. I will allow you to record this as well, but I send out the replay. So the replay will come out. Usually it comes out right away unless I have to like tweak and edit a few things. Also, oh, you're an AI assistant. Okay. um, welcome AI assistant for Julie. I am closing my eyes so I can ground in. So we'll start with a short meditation. You can keep your eyes closed or open. When you, I feel like I wanted to say one more thing about the replay. Sometimes it's good to, I like to give myself either a few days after a session or the next day, depending on how much I feel like, oh, I want to go back and review and reflect. And it's always good for everyone to think about what is your own learning style. One of the downsides I think about school is there's not always enough teaching of people so we can understand how we best learn. And anything of the personal growth, spiritual growth, you may learn and experience and grow differently with personal growth than you do with academic learning. It took me a number of years to realize I like to get what I got that day and then sit with it and not make a big decision for a day or two and then go back and listen to the recording. As I said, sometimes the next day, although rarely is it that. Usually it's a 3 or 4 days later, I'll go back and see, did I miss anything? And even as I'm saying the word miss anything, it's not really that. It's more like there was something that the day of didn't seem as much of a highlight, but later on seemed, oh, this is hitting me differently. Just like reading a good book. The third time you notice something you didn't notice the first time. Okay, so taking in a deep breath, letting it flow. in through your nose, through your body. We're going to give gratitude first for your being, your body. You know, it's the thing I'm going to say might sound simple, but we don't always spend enough time having gratitude for the simple things. The simple things you do every day, like brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, drinking enough water, washing your face, all of those, as adults, we're habituated to, yes, this is what you do. This, unless you're super sick or super depressed, like you take care of yourself, you do these things. But I have kids who they still need to be reminded of these things. And I'm highlighting it right now because in the midst of your life, you already have a baseline of caring for this beautiful body that's yours. And I want to highlight and give that gratitude because you wouldn't be able to do all the other things if you weren't doing that. If you weren't covering the basics, none of the rest of it would be possible. And aside from if you go to the dentist or the hairdresser or the whoever, and they acknowledge the effort you've been putting in, how rarely is someone like, oh, you got out of bed today, you got dressed today, you drank enough water today. It's basic, and sometimes you return to the basics and congratulate yourself and celebrate yourself, especially when if you move to a new place, you have to learn the basics all over again. Where's the post office? Where's the grocery store? Where's the gas station? Where's the whatever? The other basics of running your life, they're not known at the next place. And so sometimes there's that reset of you just go down to the basics. Okay. I'm going to guide us through a few more deep breaths, see if there's anything else that the whole group needs to hear, and then we'll be diving into questions. So with your next inhale, picturing that the breath is going to wherever in your body is stored what feels like the hollow of pain, loneliness, and ache, something, maybe it's heartbreak. We're letting that part of you be seen. We're letting it have oxygen, have love, have energy. That part of you is not forgotten. That part of you is not ignored. That part of you it's welcome to be here. And we also acknowledge in this, we can give attention to that ache. It's not going to consume your whole life, your whole day, your whole consciousness, your whole existence. And we're letting that ache know that it's seen, know that it's not alone. And believing that in one way or another today, this collective group gather, this community, may we have the experience of letting the ache be filled, letting comfort in, letting you absorb and realize the fact that you can allow in goodness. And if there's something that feels like pain or hurt or disappointment that you're ready to release, or that you really wish would get the heck out of here, that we're letting that be released. There's a part of you, it almost reminds me of a hard pit at the center of a cherry or an apricot. If there's a part of you that still has that tinge of bitterness on your tongue of when you think about an experience or you think about someone that has hurt you, we may not be able to erase the bitterness, dissolve that hard pit today, but let's picture that we're softening the edges of it. That we're taking away 25% of the bitterness, and knowing that in a good meal, if it's too bitter, you're not going to enjoy it. But if the bitterness is lessened, that bitterness can actually make all of the sweetness sweeter. Okay. Taking in another deep breath and believing and feeling that you are allowed to receive, you're able to receive, and you are welcome to receive everything that you wish and more. And releasing with an exhale all that junk that's not yours to hold on to. Okay. So I know I have a pre-submitted question, and I'm going to check the chat real fast. I know the Otter AI was saying things. You said you'll be able to see screenshots. Okay. I don't know how long it'll take to prompt that AI. Julie, if your AI has a question, I know Julie came with a question, although I might know what the question is. AI, you can prompt the question whenever you need to. This is so ridiculous to me in a way. I'm not used to prompting robots like this, but okay. Okay, if there's anybody here who wants to raise your hand and ask your question, it doesn't look like the Otter AI is doing it yet. Mickey, did you want to start with a question? I don't have to put you on the spot, but you're here.
I am. I didn't come with any particular questions. I just saw the email and it was like, oh, I'm gonna check in since I haven't talked to you in a while. So I didn't really have anything in particular.
Okay. Do you want me to look and see, is there information for you, or do you just want to be here to absorb whatever you get?
Both. See if there's anything for me, and if not, well, I want to just be around all the cool things.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you. Well, first off, this is so funny. The animals, they always, I guess they know I like them, so they come in. Your dog is popping in just to like show love and say hi, and also show appreciation. And I don't know if there's a place where you have a headstone or gravestone for your dad, but your dog is showing me you and your dog going to a place that's like a cemetery where there's a plaque in the ground, and looking at that. Is there a place where you have that?
We don't. We have his ashes at my mom's house and also spread over Alaska. So.
Oh, Alaska. Wow. And okay, so would you ever have a desire at your home for some kind of placard or memorial type thing that's a physical thing that you could see?
I do of my dog, of my past dog, Mojo.
You do? Oh, that's
Yeah,
sweet.
he's in our bedroom.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay. I'm just gonna pause and see if there's anything else to say about that. Would it make you feel happy or sad if you had a plaque for your dad in your yard or in a special place that you are able to put it?
Um, I've never really felt the need to do that. So I don't know. I think it would make me sad.
Okay.
Like I would, yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So tell me why. I mean, I know that seems obvious, but I want to hear you talk about it because there's something important that we're supposed to talk about with this.
Um, I don't know. Like, I guess I just feel kind of like whenever people die, I just kind of, like I miss them and I think about them, and I don't like I don't have any problem with other people, keeping memorabilia, and it's more sentimental to them. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, I almost feel like it would make me wallow,
Yes.
because there's other things that remind me of him, and I think about him throughout the day, and then like the smaller private planes that fly over, like
Yes.
they I feel that that's possibly him saying hi to me, especially like more lately than before. And then also like specific sunrises and sunsets remind me of him, but I yeah, I guess I just don't feel a need to put
Yes.
that like in my house or on my property. Like
Yes.
I'd rather feel him positively around me than be reminded of his physical body not being here.
Yes. Okay. I love that. Thank you. So here's the message that I have for you because I love what you're doing and I think it's great. And this is kind of like if you're ready for the next step. He's showing me that if you could, the contrast you would feel if you saw a memorial and what feels like wallowing compared to how you are now. Your dad is telling me you could have that level of shift in terms of the difference of feeling from where you are now to the next stage and feel even more connected to him. So another way of putting this is like if there were stair steps with grief, I don't think you're wallowing. And let's say somebody who has that, like if you were to have a headstone, it would feel like wallowing. And let's say that's like level 2. Um, and you're at level 3 or 4. What he's showing me is you could go up to level 6 where there's even less any feeling of wallowing. Again, I don't feel that you're wallowing, but we're just using that as a um, comparison for the feeling, and that there's even more, yeah, there's even more connection and joy that is possible for you and your dad. And so what would be the thing for you to do to explore that? It seems like is you could ask yourself, are there ways in which I'm wallowing that I didn't even realize? Um, and I feel like there's another thing. I also want to say, if as you're listening, you're feeling sad because you're like, well, I'm already trying to do this, and now you're giving me like another step. None of this is like a do more, do better, achieve, 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 get over this grief so you can have this. It's not that it works that way at all. Um, mm, yeah, it's like the opposite of achieving, actually. And I think that's also why some of this feels unknown is you are so highly skilled at what you do and having had your level of excellence that sometimes, I mean, I'm this way about some things in my life. I'm like, I'm so smart. Why am I not better at this thing? Because I'm so good at these other things. But just because we're super great in one area and another area, we feel like we're the one who takes so long to get it. And again, I'm not saying that you think that or feel that, but it does feel like there's a little bit of this like, why haven't I gotten it yet? Or why am I slow to get this? It's any comparison is not, it just creates more emotion and drama. Just letting yourself have an anti-achiever attitude at experiencing this is the best, and that you and your dad will have continued connection and joy. And it feels like there will be a point in a few months or a few years where you'll look back and you'll be like, oh, wow, that was, that was the phase of my life I was in then with how I felt about the relationship. And now I'm in this phase now. And some of it is also like how grief changes over time, how we feel about it. Oh, interesting. Okay. And your dad is also telling me, which I know I've shared with you before, like, even though with his mind when he was alive, how he felt, he feels differently passed on because he sees things differently, because he sees that death is not the end. But he's saying, if you want to be curious, there are going to be new things coming out in science in the next number of years that are going to make you feel really excited, that if he would have been alive, they would have blown his mind to see it too. And that is going to be even more confirming and exciting for you to discover and explore. How does that feel?
That feels exciting, and I feel like he's talking to me and like reminding me, um, I guess the spirituality, that part where I'm like I feel like there's a block or I'm not able to quite get it, like reminding me that it's not an achievement, um, or it's not it yeah, like because I mean goals can be different from achievements, and so yeah, that was definitely spoke to me. And then also the stuff coming with science and like new discoveries, that's always exciting to me, especially if it links a spiritual side to science. Then hopefully that would be great. And I realized while I was writing stuff down that today's my parents' anniversary, so I should probably read my
Wow.
mom.
Oh, that's sweet. Hmm. That's really nice. Thank you. And yeah, it's funny. I love to dance, but man, if you ever take a dance class with me, I'm like the slowest person in the room to figure out the moves, even though I love doing it. And I have to tell myself, like, it's okay if everybody else got this, like 10 minutes before you. Um, so yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you received that, and all the love to you and your dad and your mom.
Thank you. And also you comparing, like, making the dance comparison makes a lot of sense because it's not, you can learn how to do the dance, but like enjoying the dance is the point.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
thank
Mm, you're welcome. Okay, I have a pre-submitted question and then I'll get to the group because I know Darshini has a question and maybe, okay, I see everybody else's name. I don't know if this autopilot is going to do something or not. I've been in meetings where there was AI there before, but they usually don't share. They're just like receiver. Okay, so the question, which may be helpful for some of you, even if it isn't your specific circumstance. So this person has just ended a romantic relationship recently, and she wanted guidance on how to help herself heal and what are the best steps to move forward from there. Okay, interesting. So, and again, for everyone here, feel what parts of this feel true for you, even if the circumstances are different. One of the first things I'm seeing is we like to have in our minds this idea that at the end of a relationship, then I need to heal, and that's a process, and this is going to take this amount of time. I remember, I forget where I first heard this. People, it was probably in a movie. If you've been in a relationship for 3 years, it's going to take at least 1 month for every year to get over it, and things like that. And I remember there was this guy that I dated, who I might leave out his name. Not that it matters because it was like 15 years ago, but when we broke up, I felt like I was ready the next day to just move on. Partly because sometimes when we end a relationship, by the time we end it, we've changed so much that you're definitely not the same person you were when you got in it. And you've altered so much that some of the healing has already taken place. And so there's a few things that I'm seeing. One, for this person and for any of you who wish to receive it, the ending of the relationship was the healing that you needed. That was your way of affirming, I see that I'm done now. I'm moving on. Whew, I'm getting all these chills in my body. There is another version of you who wouldn't have made that decision, who would have just kept on going. It's fine, I can make this work. But so deciding to end it in and of itself is a healing experience and a dedication and loyalty and trust in yourself that you did. So that's incredibly powerful. So with that, it feels like a circle to me. I don't know why. With that, it feels this beautiful, like crystal ball or beautiful jewel, this ball of something that I just want to celebrate. And again, back to this relationship with this guy, Mike, I'll just call him Mike. We within 2 hours of when he broke up with me, my soul was like, freedom. Not because I was ready to just go date whoever, although there was a little bit of that maybe. But I felt that I had been working so hard, doing so much, that there was such freedom in not having to do that anymore. And he broke up with me. I didn't even break up with him. But I still felt that sense of freedom, and that's what I was celebrating. So it's important to not try to think we have to keep up appearances for other people and grieve things for show for others when we don't even feel that way. We don't, yes, of course, we've all been socialized in cultures that it's like, it's not seen necessarily for women specifically that it's acceptable to end a relationship and go out and celebrate or just start dating wildly, if that's how you feel. Not that I think this person is going to date wildly. And just because that's not like seen as an acceptable path doesn't mean that you also have to pretend to be getting over a relationship that there's a part of you that is like, hallelujah, that's over. So, and I know that this person, I also just want to highlight, because they'll be listening to the replay, I know that they're not, intellectually, they think they need to heal. And there is something to that. So I will go into that because there's a part of them that has a desire for that. And there's a very strong part of them that's just like, rootin' tootin', I'm here and I'm single. And I'm so glad I said no to that relationship. To let yourself celebrate making a good choice for yourself, even through the tears, is truly one of the hallmarks of a person who is owning their own power and who is loyal and wise to what you want and desire. And yeah, there's an element of let's not pretend, don't pretend and let your mind create stories and patterns of, well, after a breakup, I always do this and then I always do that, and this is how I heal from it. Allow yourself to be curious what happens next, because it feels that it's going to be a pattern interrupt, which is why I'm talking about dating wildly or celebrating, or this phrase rootin' tootin', which I don't know if I've ever said that out loud. That feels like it's from like Looney Tunes or something. This ability to be open to what you truly want. Yes, because it looks as if you ended the relationship and that's what you did. That's one truth. It's like a layer cake here. That's one layer of the cake. The next layer is at your own personal relationship with yourself. You said, I don't act this way anymore. I don't do these things anymore. I'm not tolerating these things anymore. I'm showing up for my needs. And therefore, that is equally as profound as the ending of the relationship. That's probably even more pivotal. And therefore, because you're doing that, don't let your mind play out these narratives of, well, now this and now that. I want you to stay at that uncomfortable, potentially leading edge of, I don't know what happens next, or this isn't what I think I would do in this scenario, and this is how I'm healing. That's what feels the most liberating, the most alchemizing, and the most powerful for you in this circumstance, is to let yourself notice, what do you feel called to do? And I keep on feeling that there's a part of this person intellectually that's like, but maybe I need to like sit around and take long baths, or that's probably not exactly it, but like do like this quiet self-care. Maybe, but sometimes what I think there's this perception of healing that it's the internal quiet things we do with reflection, and sometimes that is it. And sometimes what's healing is you've been quiet and reflective for so long that you're doing something that is not that, because that's what feels refreshing. Yeah. So we're going to shift this question, if you're willing. And instead of asking yourself, how can I heal after ending this relationship? I want you to ask yourself a more energizing, engaging question, if you wish, which is something along the lines of, what feels nourishing for me? Oh yeah, I'll get to you, Patty. What feels nourishing? What feels true? What do I need? Because again, you may have already healed, and I don't want you to spend more time healing if you've already healed and you're ready for the next thing. I think that's all I have to say. This person can follow up with me via email if you want to say more or ask more. Okay. Yes. Okay. Patty's asking about back to basics. Oh, you sent it to me directly. Can I read it out? Do you want to speak out? Oh, wait, unmute, please.
I'm wagging my head like I had my video on. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to pull it back up again. Okay, chat. Zoom used to be so simple, and now I'm always like, what tab is it under? In my mind, chat should be on the bar, but maybe I need to send Zoom my feedback directly because they don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so we were talking about back to basics at the beginning of the Zoom. And then Patty's curious, whoo, if there's anything else you need to know. I guess there is, because I'm shaking. And yeah, Darshini, you'll be next after this if you want to ask. Okay, so and this may be helpful for Darshini, what you and I were talking about before with changes and transitions. And Patty, I know, I'm pretty sure you read, so I wrote this article yesterday talking about how Einstein worked these jobs for 8, 7 years. I forget how long. And by most people's assessments, they'd be like, oh, you work at the post office, not a glamorous job. Or you work at the patent office, maybe slightly more glamorous, but unless you really love administrative work, which I feel like most of the people I know, that's not their love. Like creative people I know, administrative work doesn't feel that fulfilling. So Einstein did that work for a number of years, and what hit me was this element of the work that he was doing, which was providing for his basic needs and giving him a job, also gave him the space in which ideas could be percolating and growing and forming. And so what I love is, and I since I wrote that yesterday, I think is when I wrote it, I've been looking back at my life, and that's one of the things I want to encourage you, Patty, and everyone to do. Look back at your life at the moments where you're like, oh, I was in that job for too long and I shouldn't have been, or that relationship or that thing that was unfulfilling or rote or boring. And I want us to reclaim any mental assessment of that was not the best choice. Why did I do that? Why did I stay there so long? And let's reframe it as that was the phase where this was a back to basics so that other things could be happening, percolating. This is the year for the 13-year cicadas and the 17-year cicadas. They're both coming out of the ground at the same time. Their emergence only happens where it coincides every so often, because you've got to have when 13 and 17 years line up. So the cicada in year 5 in the ground, if it's judging why it's not emerged yet, that's not the life cycle of the cicada. And this workshop I was presenting last week, that if any of you didn't get the links to, I'll send it out with a replay. Guess I better make a note to that. Otherwise I'll forget later. We look like humans, like we're humans. Okay. So that's a fact. So we then start to assume, oh, if I'm like a human, I'm like all these other humans who are the same way. And yet what I find is we're more like, maybe I'm an oak tree and maybe Patty's a magnolia, and maybe Mickey is a rose bush. And it's like, maybe we're all so different, but we can't see that because we just look and we're like, you're a human, I'm a human. It should work the same way. And yet, if we were comparing these different plants, we would immediately know this plant is not the same as that. The timeline is different. The expression is different. The success path is different. And then, but it's like, it's no surprise really, because to go back to the cicadas, if you're in year 5 or 8 of a 13-year cycle, you still have to live through all of those years to get to the next cycle. And last night, for some reason, I was recalling, so in 2011, I was living in another country, and now I'm not. Like, now I live in the country where I live, that I was born in. And I was thinking to myself, wow, so it hasn't even been 15 years. And then if I fast forward 15 years, who knows where I'll live 15 years from now. I'm trying to convince my family to want to move to Japan with me one day, but they all keep on saying no. And I say, that's okay. I have 15 years to warn you after this idea. And who knows, I might not even want to live there in 15 years. But the where am I going with? So if we're getting back to basics, I think it's about trust. I think it's about trusting that even that which does not feel like it's serving us, or even those experiences that if we look at them, we think, well, that was a waste of time. Let's just imagine that's part of our cycle. And maybe you're a 13-year cicada and maybe you're a 17-year cicada, but it doesn't matter unless we make it matter in terms of, you know, from a soul level, your soul is happy as long as you keep on going how the soul wants to go. The soul isn't worried about time. I mean, from a way out there point of view, which is most of us don't spend thinking about this, but it's like if time is just a dimension, there is a place where there is not this element of years going by and it doesn't even matter. Okay, so where are we going next from here? You know, I think, Patty, if you want to direct us and tell us, so you said back to basics, that felt good, or it felt like this is something to pay attention to. When you think about what you would do with this information, or where you think you want to go, or what your soul is calling forth, what is something that you want to share so I can direct? Because I'm
Right,
way
there's so
out there
much.
now. So
Oh.
bring me back in and direct me.
Well, 3 years ago, I retired. So I've spent 3 years basically cocooning
Mm.
and divesting myself of 69 years of whatever I don't need anymore,
Yeah.
mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Mhm.
Haven't gotten to the physical part yet. However, just in the last 2 weeks, I've quit most everything I was doing outside myself, like sessions with people and all of this kind of stuff, and just have been with me. And I was thinking just yesterday about a major reset in my life because I'm still healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not like decrepit and in the 70s, you know, and so and I really believe that there's something for me to do. You know that I talk about it all the time. And
Yes.
so I'm at this point where I'm going to say it this way, but it sounds wrong, that I'm almost nothing.
Mm.
I'm a clean slate. And when you talked about being back to basics, that was like, oh, that's what this reset feels like, is that I've had this arc of life, and then I'm back down here to launch the next arc of life. And that this period of being reset, doing the reset, doing the basic stuff, is there anything I need to know about that I'm not getting? Or is there any suggestions from whoever you talk to, the trees, that would give me some information that I wouldn't normally have?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I talk to a lot out there, trees, and now do you know the Richard Scarry children's books?
No.
Okay. So I love children's books, and I've been thinking about fairy tales a lot lately too. And I keep on getting this visual of like a little character who's living in a nut. And there's a little door window that opens up on the nut. And I don't know if this is an insect living in the nut or a mole or whatever. It's some tiny little creature. So we're just picturing like children's book with anthropomorphized creatures. And this little creature in the nut, or maybe it's a coconut, opens up the window and is like, is what's going on out there? Am I ready to come out yet? Like and so I feel super recently you've been in this, you're opening up out of your cocoon. What's happening out there? Am I ready to come out yet? And then you look around and you're like, no, they're not ready for me yet. Then you close that window and then you open it up later. Nope. I look around, I'm still staying in my cocoon. However, and I don't know, I don't think it's a time thing that I need to say, but what I sense is whether the cocoon stays with you, like it's possible this cocoon then, so the Richard Scarry books, they have, there'll be like a banana car. So it literally looks like if a banana had wheels and someone was driving the car. So this cocoon thing is also like this little nut that's a house and a car. That's what I'm saying. It's very, very childlike. So your cocoon is mobile. It can go sail along the seas, drive along the roads. I do feel like, I don't know if you would agree that you like being near water, but I get this whole ocean journey feeling for you, whether that's literal or figurative.
I'm going to Daytona in 10 days.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I am so excited. That sounds fun. When you're there, will you also keep your ears and eyes open for opportunities for you to get on a boat and go on an adventure? I'm also feeling like, you know, it might even be an invitation where it's not like you had to pay for some sunset cruise, but somebody's like, oh yeah, I have a boat. You want to come out? Like it feels like that kind of thing, potentially. But you may also just see what's happening with that. And the other thing, whether or not you literally get on a boat, while you're there, just letting yourself, how do I put this? I think you'll know what I'm gonna like understand this as I'm saying it, but it's the experience of you seeing someone on a boat and thinking, I see you, I can imagine what that's like. You're like another version of me. There's a sense of knowingness that I want you to have with these people on the boats, because whether or not you actually get on a boat, what you're doing feels like an ocean voyage. And you may also want to read some books that have ocean voyages. C.S. Lewis, one of the books in the Narnia series was The Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm getting feelings like maybe you want to, more lighthearted books like Moby Dick, that's an ocean voyage, or The Fisherman in the Sea. But I'm like, I don't really want you to go those kinds of ocean voyages. We want enjoyable, fun ocean voyages and adventures. Let me see if there's anything else to say about that. And I also just want to acknowledge, which I think maybe you already were feeling, but I want to make sure it's clear. You enjoying 3 years of retirement before you're doing quote unquote next step. That was great. That was perfect. And that was you cocooning, or you know, in your gestational stage, or whatever we want to call it. And just like, you know, biologically, for the cicadas to come out, something tells them it's time. They don't have alarm clocks in the soil, you know. The part of the your gifts, your seeds. I haven't recorded part 4, but I'll just give y'all the teaser of it. Is when a seed sprouts, there's nobody tapping on the seed coat. Hello, it's time. The calendar says it's April 30th. It's time for you to sprout. There are these either light triggers, temperature triggers, whatever. Biologically, it knows it's time. This is the thing about if we're trusting our own selves to know it's time, it'll happen and we'll know, or we'll just start doing things. It's like the woman I was talking about who's like, how do I heal? There's a part of her that doesn't need to heal. It just needs to do the next thing. But that's new because it's a different stage of growth. Just like the cicada, I think they're in the larval stage when they're underground, but when they come above ground, they're in the adult stage. So you coming out of this cocoon, we're just trusting that it's all the right time and that in some intrinsic level, nature knows what happens next. So Patty, whoever like programmed Patty's biological spiritual DNA knows what's next of this coming out of the cocoon. And the other delight of this is you get to experience it not knowing, like we get to trust knowing it will work out, but yet every day is a surprise because we have no idea the next part of the story. We have no idea what's beyond the next wave. Yeah. How does that, do you think is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Good. Okay.
And feeling like there's a flow between where I am now and when the reset is over, or the reset is ready to launch something.
Yes.
Feels really like being on a lazy river on a hot day where you can take the water and just splash it on you to keep yourself cool. That's how it feels.
Oh, I love that.
And so, yeah, when you were talking about Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I got the picture in my head of Puff the Magic Dragon. He lived by the sea.
Yeah.
And so, just that childhood fascination with everything is kind of how this felt.
Yes.
And it keeps me from feeling like, oh my God, what's a reset?
Well, and I love this also because I'm thinking about, again, with children, you also have to make sure they get to bed on time and they get food and that they brush their teeth and brush their hair. And so it's like sometimes we have to do that for ourselves because a reset, even if you've been to Daytona before, you're still going to have to like acclimate and slow down or like figure out how to do your basic needs there. And I think some of us we either know what we want really clearly, kind of like we were talking before with Mickey about the goal and the outcome. It's like we still have to enjoy the dance. And it's like, but if you're dehydrated, you won't enjoy the dance. If you're dehydrated, the whole time you're on the water, it's going to be annoying. And so the slowing down back to basics, we're all going to have to do that. We all do it a little bit every day. And then there's sometimes in life where that's how we really just take care of basic needs so that we can have the grand adventure and enjoy it. Because if we go into the grand adventure depleted, we're going to miss whatever Puff the Magic Dragon, is setting up for us to see because we have to pee and we didn't take a bathroom break or whatever. Like it seems like if we just acknowledge, okay, all of this is just good foundations for future enjoyment.
There's a woman, her name is Mary Jo Hilliker. I don't even know if she's still living, but she was here one time giving a speech. And she was talking about self-discipline and part of this. And she said, no one likes to think about disciplining themselves. So let me give you another picture of what that looks like. An astronaut lives almost their entire life under discipline so that they can walk in space. So don't despise your disciplining yourself, because one day you'll walk in space and maybe you'll be able to do it without the tether.
Oh, I like that.
And so that experience with her, which was 20 years ago, came back to my mind here this week. That quote about, oh, I'm to get the freedom out there. This is my time to be with the basics and get myself whatever it is I've got to get myself so that I can walk without the tether, be free to float in space. So yeah, so I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
We got
Okay.
a funny echo going, but
Oh, I do? Well, and I was realizing I never put on my headphones and microphone. Okay, I see Jen is here. I don't know if I ever said hi, Jen, but Darshani's not here anymore.
so
Maybe
I'm
she
going to
had to
scoot
go.
because I have a class in 3 minutes and my son has called me. So all kinds
Oh,
of things going on. So you broke a bunch
yeah.
of stuff loose.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Bye. All
Thank
right,
you.
Jen, do you have a question? Do you want to ask? You can put it in the chat or raise your hand. Pause and then I also might think, well, I know Darshani, what we were just sharing, I hope will be helpful for her, but I know she had another question, but she didn't ask it while she was here, although we didn't get to Oh, okay. Oh, good, Jen. I'm glad you're here too. The next, okay, so before we go, then I'm going to share a few things. So the next time I'm doing this will be May 16th. That one is at 12 o'clock. At some time, I probably will have this be always a set certain day of the week and a set time. Oh boy, my phone's doing strange things. But for right now, I am still playing around with different times to try and find out what works best for most people. I also want to say, if you want to do a private session with me, I'm always happy to do that with you. And I was going to give a coupon code for you if you sign up within the next few days. I'm trying to see, did I already create that coupon code? Because I thought I did. But I'm looking and it doesn't look like I did. So I'm going to do that right now. So if you want to get 20% off a call, okay, hold on, I have to set this up. Well, you don't really have to hold on. So if you book by Sunday, you can use the code thank you 24. I'm going to put that in the chat. And it'll give you 20% off a session with me. That coupon, it expires on May 5th. Is that right? That's the Sunday. And when I also need to put the link to, yeah, using the code thank you 24. Thank you for showing up. Whether or not you ask a question and asked a question, and I'll put the link for booking a session in the chat too. I'll also put it out with the replay. And I'm going to tune in and see if there's anything else that I want to